Today on Will Bake for Food, I'm going to show you how to make these chocolate-covered strawberry whoopie pies.
Only food for me. Food, food, food.
Welcome back to Will Bake for Food. Have you ever been in a department store and all of a sudden a song comes on over the music that's Makin Whoopie? Well, today I'm going to show you how you can be making whoopie pies. You can find a full list of instructions and a full set of ingredients on my Will Bake for Food blog. Now, let's get started. I have everything laid out here except for the frosting components because that comes a little bit later. The first thing you need to do, preheat your oven to 400 degrees and line a couple of baking sheets with parchment paper. I had these little baking mats that we got. You can use a steel pat if you want. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect the shape or the look. Okay. Then we need to get our dry ingredients together. I have 3½ cups of all-purpose flour here that I'm then going to add 1 tablespoon of baking soda. It is a lot of baking soda, I know. 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Okay? Then we're going to put in our cocoa mixture, and I don't use all just baking cocoa. I use 1 cup of regular baking cocoa, and then I use a ½ cup of Hershey's Special Dark baking cocoa. Because of the chemical reactions you need with the regular baking cocoa, you can't replace all of the mixture with the Hershey's Dark. I tried, they don't puff up just right. So we're gonna whisk all these together and set them aside. Now that we have our dry ingredients mixed together, it's time to get our wet mixture together. Now, one of the dry ingredients that's in your wet mixture is granulated sugar. But what you basically do here is, like any other cookie recipe, we're gonna cream together our butter and our sugar. I've got my butter 2 sticks to room temperature, and then I'm gonna pour my 2 cups of granulated sugar in here as well. And we're gonna beat these up until they get nice and creamy and fluffy. It'll take about 2 minutes. I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. Now that our butter mixture is kind of light and fluffy, if you can see it there, it's got all that sugar incorporated into the butter. Now it's time to add in the rest of our wet ingredients except for the buttermilk. We'll talk about how you do that in just a second. So I have 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, pure vanilla extract, into 2 eggs. And I'm just gonna lightly beat up the eggs just a little bit so that the machine doesn't have to do too much of that work. I'm gonna turn this back on and incorporate our eggs. Once this is creamed together, it will be kind of a smooth mixture. Now, there are 2 schools of thought here. You can either go ahead and add all of your buttermilk into this and then add your dry ingredients, but I found the way that I like to do it that it doesn't stress the dough nearly as much. So put about 1/3 of your dry mixture into this mixture, and then put half of the buttermilk in and alternate back and forth. So this mixture is rather thick, okay? And that's totally fine. That's what you want. Some of it can depend on the temperature of your butter. But I have a 1 ounce cookie scoop, really is what this is. And you could use an ice cream scoop, but it needs to have this little thing here because this is so sticky that it won't come out and they'll be kind of a mess, okay? So just level off a scoop here and put them on your tray. You want to make them a little bit small, but you also want to make sure that they're pretty far apart as far as they can be and still get about 12 to 15 on your pan because they are going to puff up and spread just a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna finish these and then I'll show you my next trick for the oven and making my cookie factory. Immediately after your first tray is done, put it in the oven on the top shelf for 5 minutes. Once your 5-minute timer rings, move your first tray to the bottom shelf and put your second tray on the top shelf. Reset for 5 minutes, rinse and repeat. To test your cakes, after the bottom tray has been in the oven for 10 minutes, go ahead and try to lift 1 or 2 off of the silpat. If it comes off clean, you're good to go. Also, if you want to, you can test by putting a tester in the middle. Once those are complete, repeat the process and cook until the batter is gone. After your whoopie pie shells have cooled for about a minute on the tray, remove them and put them on a wire rack and let them cool completely, and then you can begin your frosting. To begin my frosting, I separate 3 eggs, reserving the yolks in some sort of refrigeratable container so that you can make a curd. Make sure that you use a safety bowl so that if you have problems with an egg, that it can be put into the safety bowl first and then incorporated into the rest of the mixture. To start the sugar mixture, I put a 1/3 cup of water in a heavy bottom sauce pot, and then as gingerly as possible put 3/4 cup of sugar in the center of the pot. Then 1 tablespoon of corn syrup. Put it over medium heat for about 2 minutes until the sugar mixture is clear and all the sugar is dissolved. It's time to put in your candy thermometer so you can start testing the temperature of your sugar mixture. Once it reaches about 205 degrees, it's time to go over to start the meringue. Now, as I've just broken up my egg whites just a little bit with the whisk attachment, and I'm going to put about 1/8 teaspoon of cream of tartar in there and let them get to soft peaks-ish. So now I'm putting my tablespoon of reserved sugar, granulated sugar, just to kind of begin the meringue until peaks start to form. Put this up on high. Okay, so my sugar mixture reached 240 degrees, or what's known as the softball boil stage. Now what I'm going to do, I've got these kind of frothy, a little bit of a soft peak going on, is I'm just going to put this down on stir and slowly drizzle this in. Slowly drizzle it in, and as it turns, you will see the mixture start to become a little bit more liquid. All my sugar mixture in there. I'm going to slowly increase my speed here. You can see that steam puffing out. It's a little bit like making a marshmallow if you've seen that marshmallow demonstration. And this bowl is hot. So what we're going to do is turn it up to about, on my mixer, at 8, so not quite all the way to high, and let it go for 7 minutes. Whipped for about 6.5 minutes or so, and what we've got here is a nice, awesome Italian meringue, basically. So now is when we flavor it, because all we have so far are eggs and sugar and water and corn syrup, which you can't really taste the corn syrup, but anyhow. What I like to do is, if you want to make it just vanilla, then go ahead and put a whole teaspoon of vanilla in here. But if you're going to flavor it with some other flavor, I'm using strawberry today, then you still need a little bit of vanilla. There's something about the savory aspect of vanilla that makes everything taste better, and I don't know what it is, but about 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla goes right in here. And then I put a whole teaspoon of whatever flavor you want to put in here. So today I'm using a Loran Oil strawberry extract emulsion. You can use orange, you could use peppermint, like if you're making these at Christmas time. Any of those things, you can make them that flavor for that season, right? So put both of these in here and then just beat it about another 30 seconds until it's all incorporated. It looks really great, and that emulsion has enough color that it gives us a nice pink hue here. So you know what flavor it is. If you want to color this even farther, I tried using an oil-based color like a Marigel or something like that, and you really just can't put it in here because it will deflate the meringue. It's pretty stable by this point, but it will truly deflate it. So what we're going to do here is I have a piping bag, and I fitted it with a 2D tip, I believe is what it was. Yes, 2D Wilton tip, so it's a little bit of a star shape. I'm going to fill my piping bag up, and then I'll show you how to fill your whoopie pies. Dun, dun, dun. Now it's time to make some whoopie. We have everything ready for our assembly. So I've got my piping bag filled here with my 7-minute frosting, and I've turned half of my shells over and kind of matched sizes up. They weren't all perfectly the same size. Now what you do is, because of that star tip, just rotate a little bit right here, And as soon as this stuff dries out, it like glues this together, but it tastes like a chocolate covered strawberry, and they are so delicious. Store them in an airtight container. You need to put them in the fridge, and the next day they get so much better because all that meringue soaks into the cookie part. So thank you so much for joining me here on Will Bake for Food. I'll see you next time. Bye!